Hey, Scott, welcome to the show. As I warned you beforehand, I'm not a gamer, and you want to talk about gaming for engagement. So I'm wondering, okay, how's this going to fit? I'm really looking forward to the conversation. Why don't you tell the audience a little bit about yourself, what you're doing?
Hey, my name's Scott Novus, and I'm the founder of Bravous, and we help people connect through play. And my tool of choice to do that is with video games. And I'll tell you right now how we're going to end this thing is I'm going to invite you to come and play with me. We have a fun thing we call a funinar webinar, but we do it with video game play. So all the stuff we're going to talk about today, you could experience for yourself. We do this every week for free, and you can sign up at bravous.com/play. Super easy. And let me convince you, David, that play's a good thing, even for adults.
Well, I agree with play. And it's interesting that you're coming on the show now because what we're 2 years into or passing out of this pandemic, everybody dive into remote type of thing. And I think a lot of my clients and people on the podcast here are running out of ways to engage with their people or bond with their people as a team. And so I think it's very timely. So what do you got for us?
Well, I mean, one of the things that I would say is I feel like I'm like many of your listeners, right? I'm just like you. We were working out of our office, and I still remember it was like March 10th, Stanford closed, Harvard closed. We're like, what? There was no business plan to stop operations with like a week's notice. And, we made it through that, but everything we had done was all about in person, in office. I'm huge about the human connection. Like all my businesses are focused on that. And we pulled a team together and like, could we do this virtually? And they're like, yeah, well, we've been playing video games online for like 20 years. Of course we could do this virtually. So we go virtual, completely virtual. We're like, wow, we are killing it. We're so good at this. And then one of my best people quit. I was stunned. I was like, what? How could that happen? And his exit interview says, none of this has anything to do with me. And what that revelation moment was, oh my God, all we were doing was working together. That was it. We had become hyper transactional in the way we worked together. So while we were skilled with all the technology and being online together, David, what happens when we turn relationships into transaction only? What do we do in the United States? What do we do in Western culture now?
Oh,
we make it an app.
Yeah, don't get me started on how we've moved away from relationships first. And unfortunately, in America, I think one of our biggest problems is it's all about profit now, with too many people consciously or subconsciously. And then you got Gen Z, Gen Y, Gen X. Well, not Gen X as much, but Gen Z, Gen Y are like, they're so sick of being lied to and manipulated. And they're like, hey, where's the relationship? Where's somebody going to be real?
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Where's somebody going to be real? But we start doing that to our team. And I think like, we don't even walk into banks. We don't even go through drive-throughs anymore, right? We grab our phone. It's a piece of software. That was not the kind of company I wanted to build. And we had lost, remember going to lunch? How can a bunch of smart people have such a hard time picking a place to eat? But there were these conversations that happened. The break room, is a taco a sandwich? All this silly stuff went away because all we were doing is working together. And we realized that we had to change or we were going to lose the culture we worked so hard to build. And our pivot, our core was play. So we built everything we did around how do we make sure we're intentional about reconnecting people in as many ways as possible. And that was what I wanted to share with your listeners is what we did because they can do it too. And
so now
we can help them do it.
You lost this person. Were you not practicing what you preach? Were you like selling the apps and encouraging people to use it, but not using it yourself? Or did you have to make a change to the apps that you're offering?
Well, so we don't really offer apps. We're a production company. So we run video game events for our big business is colleges. So we do video game tournaments online for schools. So we help college kids play together. And it's a lot of introverts. I have 2 engineering degrees. So I think of it as nerds. It's like I have a special soft spot in my heart for them. And, they get these huge computers and they sit in their dorm rooms and they don't meet anybody. Schools are gigantic today. They're humongous.
Yeah.
And so we come on and we bring in an online tournament, and they can basically, it's private to that school. So they get to play with people they could actually hang out with. Like, a lot of non-gamers don't realize how isolating gaming can be, because the software companies, the big publishers, they don't want to introduce you to somebody you don't know who could walk over to your house and meet you. That's too dangerous. So imagine the hobby. David, what are you into? What's your pastime when you're not doing this awesome stuff and helping people out?
Oh, well, I probably doing house projects, whether indoors or outdoors. So I'm building a wall or putting in a door or planting trees or whatever, going on hikes, so, whatever it might be.
But okay, so let's say you're going on hikes. What if you were led to believe the only people that like to go on hikes lived in other states? Nobody in your state likes to go on hikes. There's nobody to go hike with. You can't invite anybody because they don't do what you do. That's the world most gamers live in. Yeah. Nobody near them does what they do. So we break that by going, no, all these people around you do what you do. Let's get together and play. And after they're done playing one of our tournaments, now they've got a new friend they could go to, the student union with. They have a connection with, they can have a conversation with. And that world is coming into work. And so we're trying to give you tools to go, hey, you're going to have to bring intentionally the connection to your remote team that you used to get for free by being together in your office. And, it's three things. And it's number one, if your listeners take nothing else away from this call, form a fun committee. If you don't have a fun committee, get one. If you have one, awesome, congratulations. And there's some tips and I can help make it better. But the main thing about a fun committee is that what we found, the people that most need human connection are the ones that are going to volunteer for it. It costs you nothing. And so the people most at risk that need that cross-department, cross-subject, that don't want to, can't all be task work and checking boxes, they want to know each other, are going to jump on your fun committee. The other benefit is they're going to go drag the introverts into whatever activities they plan. So they go do this and they look after the other people that are being left out. And that worked really, really well for us.
Well,
the second thing,
go ahead. Let me stay with that one for a moment. So it seems like the early adopters or the people that want to be on the committee initially are going to be one or more extroverts.
Yep.
It almost, what I'm hearing you say underneath here is that, reach out to some of your key introverts who may not raise their hand, but get them involved. So if I'm going to have a committee of one, because I'm a small company, that's one thing. Can be the extrovert. But if I've got a larger group, larger company, whether it's cross divisions or just cross work groups, I need to get some of these introverts, or at least maybe somebody who's on the fringe, more comfortable with people, involved so I can engage everybody, right?
Absolutely. Well, and that's the thing is I like Dan Pink's term ambivert, because we tend to be like, oh, extrovert, introvert. Well, most of us fall somewhere in the middle. But if you're finding somebody who's more social, they'll go get the other people, because that's their mission, is to create connection, is they want to help people feel connected. And so the ones that are passionate about it are also the ones most at risk to leave because their needs are not being met at the company for connection. And they'll help you find everybody else. And, there's a limit, probably 20 or 30 people at a size for getting teams to play together. There's sort of like Jeff Bezos' 2 pizza rule, but the committee can cover a large organization. It can cover a diverse group of people because its job is just to plan events. It's all it's trying to do is kind of carry that torch for how are we going to create opportunities for, here's your key phrase, unstructured, unplanned conversations.
It hits me because I was on a phone with a client this morning. They got 70 employees and they're going to be hiring somebody for marketing. And one of the things you brought up is I want this person also to handle our internal branding and how we're working together as an organization, which also includes their events. And, what a lot of my clients have been doing is once a month or so paying for dinner and doing something, after hours, and everybody can have a dinner brought to their home, and they can have a remote online gab fest while they dinner. And they've done some online escape rooms and they've done online Jeopardy and whatever, but now they're running out of ideas. So I'm curious as we continue to go through this to learn more and more about, what type of game or contest type of thing can be available for them to do as part of those times.
Well, it's a good point, because one of the limitations we found with some of those social things, and it's the Zoom fatigue, right? Is one of the reasons I like video games is they synchronize everybody and they do. So where does Zoom fatigue come from? One of the key elements is, as humans, we're wired to watch each other's eyes. We don't know where to look. If we're all physically in person, we're actually all constantly cueing off each other. What are you looking at? What are you looking at? What's important? So we naturally almost all gravitate like a wave. Like a good meeting gets in a pattern where everybody knows what's important in the room. And like instantly we can look around and go, yep, okay, he's speaking, got it. There's all this information we read. We get into Zoom or Google or whatever, and it scatters. All the people are looking at different things, and it keeps our brain like in overdrive going, what's important? What's important? What's important? When we get in a game, the game is what we're all paying attention to. Suddenly, bang, we're all looking at the most important thing. And it's all synchronized because we're all having the same experience at the same time. So it's actually relaxing. It lets your brain actually like lighten the cognitive load for a minute. But as a group, we're still communicating and staying in sync. And it's those opportunities to create synchronization that also help bonding and connection. And the thing I was telling you about is, so it's like whenever we can synchronize, that's a good thing for our teams, creating that. But why I like video games in particular is games are a hack to authenticity. It's like, if you're familiar with all this, you guys could read about it, of like impression management and psychological safety, and Brene Brown's famous for vulnerability, which usually scares people. One of the greatest strengths of a video game is it's frivolous, right? You're not putting your profession at risk here. So good, take off your professional veneer. And the truth is, when you get into a video game, within a few minutes, you can only play as yourself. You can't put on airs. You can't pretend to be somebody else. The game demands too much of your attention. Once it does that, it's a 3-minute hack to authenticity. People will talk to each other 100% authentic. They will just start, all of a sudden, you'll forget, that's your boss. You're like, hey man, I need more plates. And you just, all of a sudden, you're talking to each other like human beings. And so it could be a rapid path for people to connect in ways that are difficult. Like if I came in as a teacher or facilitator, we all learn this in school. Your behavior will change to meet my expectations. We play a game together. I just get David. I get raw David. You're not worried about what I think. You're just being you because you're busy trying to do your thing. And that, when we bond at that level, it reinforces what I now call the 4 R's. Number 1, emotional regulation. That's important. Anxiety's through the roof everywhere. Mental health. When we bond with other people, it helps us regulate our own emotions. 2, relatedness. It makes us better people. It's easier for us to understand the other person's point of view. That layer of communication that is not just about me telling you, it's also about me hearing you. And then resiliency is that when we connect with other people, it actually helps our own resources. And my last one isn't a psychology one, it's a business one: retention. And my story was when we started playing together once a month on our Fun Fridays, and we did all these things where we had a fun committee and we started being intentional about how people communicate and synchronize. And then we started playing together. Somebody came after my marketing director, your friend, that was like, I got to get a marketing director. I've got that guy. And he stayed with us because, quote, he couldn't imagine building a team like the team he had here at this company. And so, all things considered, at the end of the day, people aren't loyal, in my experience, to a brand. They're usually loyal to the people they feel they have friendships and relationships with. And that's what we were helping facilitate, is that building of the relationships so that they come together going, man, this is where I want to be when I wake up and go to work. And so that worked for us. And that's just what I want to share with, you, especially IT guys. Oh my God, there's such a huge opportunity because everybody's afraid of them. They're afraid to call IT, go, oh, we won't be allowed to do anything. They'll block the website. They'll shut us down. It's like you have the best opportunity to bring really interesting solutions to your communities that will feel safe because you've endorsed them. And there's some great content coming out there right now. There's a handful of games that you can play depending on teams and size that you can get involved in. But, we've got two categories. One, there's the rare company that does it where they've got video game equipment like a Nintendo Switch for everybody, or they've got enough people on computers where, sorry about that, everybody can play a video game together, and we facilitate those all day long. We bring professional commentators. Like, we bring human beings to make it fun. Like I like to say, we're really good at making bad gameplay fun to watch. We help people.
I can see how you're on the right track, at least what I would believe is the right track. I mean, every leadership person out there has their own little recipe for leadership, and mine is 3 strands of leadership. And the first is systematic power, but the second is meaningful work. So you're connected to something you love. And the third is sincere gratitude. So you communicate in various ways. You value your people. And that sounds like exactly what you're doing through the games. Now, I can see how this really works, and it's going to create some authenticity, like you said, or transparency when someone's comfortable with games. Now, talk to me about any experience you've had with people who are like, don't play video games.
Well, I tell my team when we set these things up, your mom has to be able to play this game. So when we go through the list of games that we use, because we do things that are crazy difficult, like League of Legends, but then we'll play a game like Hacksball. And probably many of your listeners have seen that game. And it's like arrow keys, right? You don't have to, no installation. It's, it can't trigger any problems. You've got to be able, it's got to be private to the group you're dealing with. So you don't deal with randos coming in out of nowhere, and simple. And that game in particular, like one of the games I love to run that I do a workshop with, that's Culture Kitchen, is a cooking game, and everybody gets it. It's like, there's 2 buttons and move around. That's not what makes the game hard. What makes the game hard? You got to talk to each other. You got to work together.
Cool.
That's what makes it really interesting. And there's another game like that, Bomb Corp, where you have to cooperate. And I'm a big fan of those style of games as opposed to competitive games. I think there's actually almost too much competition at work because that can work against vulnerability, versus we start cooperating and collaborating, we get a different dynamic. And it's really fun to watch people step in and play, because actually the thing that scares you the most is the most valuable. I'm not good at this. Perfect. You just completely empathized with the new employee you hired that has never been here before. You just got put back in beginner's mind. Now you get to have all those emotions. What's it like to ask for help again? What's it like to learn again? What's it like and now that you can have empathy for that situation, it actually expands your ability to help the other person going, they're not stupid. They just don't know. They don't even know what to ask for yet. And so getting them in a situation where they're like, oh, well, if he's that way, I can help.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. Now, when you play the games, are you all playing as individuals against one another, or can you divide into 2 teams or 3 or 4 teams or whatever?
Well, the way these work is we definitely can split into teams, and we also split into multiple rooms. So we can have like virtually as many rooms as needed for the groups that are available. And so the games go from like 4 people in a room to some of them could be 20 people in a room. Some of them are cooperating. They're all doing the same thing. And some of them is, okay, we've got 2 teams of 10, have at it, or 2 teams of 6, have at it. And, our recommendation is do it during lunch. Like you said, get everybody a pizza, give them a DoorDash, buy everybody lunch and learn, and then have them jump into these games and have them play.
Yeah, no, I mean, it makes perfect sense. And I think it's good timing because people need this. And now, can we do this remotely, but then also do it in the office if we're, sometimes we're returning back into the office. So that it creates the banter in person, even though everybody's looking at a screen.
Oh, well, yeah, you definitely. So the one thing is when we do it online, so we do it with remote teams, that works everywhere. So if everybody has their own computer and a webcam and a microphone, they can all play. So it works in office, it works remote. There's different things we do for completely in-person teams, because when there's completely in-person teams, I have a much larger library of games that are available, because then I can bring the equipment. And so I can bring enough equipment for 50 people to all play concurrently at once in the same space. And I got an opportunity to do this for Air National Guard officers. It was their weekend a month, and they wanted to reward, because these guys work really hard and there's a lot on their shoulders right now. And it's guys and gals, right? It is it's one of the most inclusive environments I've ever been in. And to hear a bunch of professional military people just laughing out loud together from across departments and disciplines, they were like, wow, we've never had that experience before. It was just totally worth it. And I feel like if they can do it, you definitely can do it. And so when it's in person, I just have a bigger library, because it's like literally show up, here's a controller, let's go, we're going to have fun. When we go online, we just have a smaller selection of games to pick from, because it's a weird niche of cooperative team-based games that people can play together with no software install. And we're working on growing that library, but right now they're out there. It's just finding them can be challenging.
Yeah, no, I like it. I like it in that, as far as a total remote team, we can do that and interact, and you can divide us up as whatever way. Also hybrid. I mean, I've been in an office where some of the techs, a team of techs, started playing some game. And although it's all on the screens, they're bantering back and forth. And then, so if you got a hybrid team, you got some in office, some out of office, as long as they can hear each other, what's it saying, that's awesome. And then you even have the option of a stepped up experience for when it's totally in person. I think that's great. I think really, what I want to encourage the audience is you need to check this out. So if it's not really your deal, like I wouldn't check this out myself, but I would have one of my people check it out who's more attuned to games. I have people on my team who play games. So it'd be like, hey, check this out. And it sounds like you've got something going, Scott, where they can check that out once a week. So why don't you tell the audience once again, how can they go on and check this out? Because that really seems to be something that would be a good move.
No, thank you. It's like if I describe golf to you and you never get to pick up a club, it's hard to know what I'm talking about. So that's why we do this. Every week we run a free webinar. We call it a funinar. But if you go to Bravous, BRAVOUS.com/play, PLAY, it'll take you to our page and you can register to join one of our free funinars. And we do them every Tuesday. And you could drop in and check it out. And if that time doesn't work for you, just fill out the form and ask Mark, hey, can I do one of these for my team? We'll do a free sample for you. We'll set a time up, because we're really passionate about helping people connect through play. And we know there's a lot of people out there that are struggling with this, and we're really good at it. We're really good at helping people come together and connect. And it's one of those we'd love to help you, just even to expose you to the idea.
Well, the other thing I encourage the audience with is that everyone is aware. It's hard to hire people now. You don't want to lose people. Like Scott mentioned, he lost one key person. And this is a way to communicate that you really value them as a member of the team, get them to bond as a team, get them to communicate and have a good time. And really, when you help people feel that they want to stay part of the team, study after study says people leave because either they don't like their boss or they don't like the people they work with. So this is a way to make certain that doesn't happen. So I encourage you to check it out. I want to thank you, Scott, for being on the show. This has been great. We'll make certain it's in the information of the show for those people who want to check out a link, that type of thing. But once again, give them that URL. Okay, if we got people that are driving or something, it'll sink in. How to spell it? BRAVOUS.com/play. PLAY. Bravous.com/play. David, thank you for having me on your show. I really appreciate it. And hopefully I shared some things with your audience that are going to help make their lives easier and their teams better. I think you did. So thank you very much.